Hi, I'm Nicholas Seminario, founder of Dark Angel Company. This podcast is to share the untold stories of just a few of the many people battling mental illnesses in this world. If you're in need of a little inspiration to keep fighting or to feel less alone in your battle, keep listening and share to spread awareness. This is the Dark Angel Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Dark Angel Podcast. We have a very, very special episode today. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a two-part episode. Today I have Sydnee Labuda, and we're going to be diving into her life and her experiences with mental health. And then for part two, we're going to be going on her podcast, and she's going to be talking about mental health and stuff like that. It's going to be a really, really great episode. I'm really looking forward to this, and I hope you guys are as well. So I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, your podcast, everything like that.
Cool. Okay. Hi, I'm Sydnee. My podcast is called The Rambling Pod. It basically was curated from this random one-off idea that I had on my Instagram stories where I would post an anonymous question box and I would ask people to talk about their drama of the week and kind of just people would go off and vent. Sometimes it would be really simple, cramming for 8 finals right now. And then other times it would be some guy hit me up and he has a foot fetish and I don't know what to do about it. And I would be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, how do you answer that?
Yeah, it was the most chaotic content. I was getting such a wide variety. I was getting so many submissions and it was so risk-free. People who I knew and didn't really know or knew kind of well or knew super well, a wide variety would come up to me and, oh, by the way, I love Tease Day, because that's what I would call it. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. I didn't even think people looked at my Instagram story. I was kind of just doing it out of boredom. And I don't know, I always had the idea to do a podcast because I've always performed. I met your sister through theater, Alyssa. Yep. Shout out, I love you. But yeah, so I kind of was just I think this could work. And, being an Italian woman, I just talk a lot. So the Rambling Pod was born that way.
I love the name, by the way. I think it's so creative. I really love it.
Well, a lot of people said to me when they heard I was doing it, they're like, why didn't you call it Tease Day? And I was like, because I don't want that to be all it is. I think that's a cool element to sprinkle in. And I get to talk to my guests. Obviously I don't tell them who said what or whatever. It's super anonymous. We sprinkle in talking about the drama or what people are asking for advice on and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's just a platform where people can listen to different people's opinions on life or things they've been through, hot topics, niche topics, just trying to keep it interesting with interesting people. So that's how it's rambling. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think it's such a cool idea. And I'm so glad we're going to be able to tie these two things together. I think it's going to be really, really cool. I kind of want to get into your life and how everything started, with your mental health journey.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who's going to hear this. There's a lot of people that I'm very close to that don't know a lot about things I've been through because, I don't know, I've generally always been I think a kind of private person, but I figured this would be, a good way if someone stumbles upon it and they learn something about me that they never learned about me, then cool. It is what it is. So I would say my childhood shaped a lot of future issues, unfortunately, that I would have. I love my mom. She's the best. But my dad, it was just such a messy situation. Unfortunately, I'm sure there's a lot of families that have gone through this. He was a severe alcoholic, and the alcoholism just transcended into a lot of different forms of abuse coming from him towards me and my mom and my sister, either physical or verbal or emotional. Also just the dynamic between him and my mom, he was one of those people where it was very clear he never really wanted to be a dad. I think he wanted the status that comes with a marriage and a family and all of those things. But once it came down to being a parent, oh, can you come to my show? Can you come to my recital? Can you drive me to rehearsal? This is going on in my life. I need help. I need help with my homework. It was absolutely nothing. He wouldn't come home, always at the bars kind of thing. Between all of that and the lack of seeing what even a relationship should look like or any form of genuine love, not only did I not feel it from a man in my life, I didn't see how a man should treat a woman. I never understood that. So then growing up, as I like kind of, you grow up, you start to like people and like you get feelings for people and whatever. And I started to like boys and want to date boys and whatever. I would find myself in these relationships or these situations where I was always, always dating people who would either like say they loved me, but then treat me terribly, like cheating on me. Or I had one boyfriend who was like also, he was physically abusive at times. He was honestly like a carbon copy of like things that my dad did. And I was super young. I think that kind of leaves a mark on you, but I will say I do pride myself on like trying to not be a victim of my situation. Like that was like what I wrote my college essay on. I wrote it about my dad and how like at a young age, like I promised myself like no matter what happens, no matter how someone treats me, I will not use it as validation to treat other people poorly. And I will always want to use the way I've been treated by him or ex-boyfriends or what have you as a motivational force to do the exact opposite for everyone else in my life. And I think that while that's great and it's been powerful to kind of pride myself on like thinking I really do love the people in my life so hard and I give them so many chances. Sometimes people are like, oh, you're naive. You let people walk all over you. But like, I don't even give a shit. I just like want the people in my life to feel safe and comfortable. But I do think I've done that sometimes truly at an expense of like taking care of myself because again, I never really learned the priorities of like letting other people make you feel special or like you should take care of yourself and protect yourself from others. It just culminated into like so many other things. So, yeah.
Growing up is hard as it is, right? We're going through things, we're learning new things, and for you to have not been able to experience that, that support, it's maybe something you didn't realize when you were younger, you thought that was normal. Mm-hmm. And then now looking back, for you to be able to realize and say, no, that wasn't normal and it hurt me. It's hard to even be able to admit that. So for you to be able to admit that, I think that's really brave of you and strong of you to do. Any of that emotional or physical abuse from your father, was there anything that you did as a child? Like, did you realize that that's what was happening as a child, or was it something now you're kind of realizing?
You know how like they say sometimes your psyche will like block things out and like then like whatever. As I've gotten older, like I feel like throughout the years, I've remembered things that have happened when I was younger. I think that you hear like your psyche will block things out, like traumatic experiences. And I think that as I get older, like I remember things that happened that I forgot about for a long time. Every St. Patrick's Day, I have like the same memory because I'm from Blue Point. So Blue Point, Bayport has like a really big St. Patrick's Day parade. We would go every year when I was a kid. It was like a huge drinking holiday. And like even in high school, like the high schoolers in Bayport, Blue Point. I remember going home and my dad, I like remember my mom like yelling at him, begging him to stop. He wouldn't stop walking with me on his shoulders. And then we kept falling, crashing to the ground and over and over and over again. And like my knees were bleeding. Like I was getting like all roughed up because he was drunk.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that at the time. Like I was just like, what is going on? And then me being like, please stop putting me on your shoulders. Like this hurts. And then him screaming at me and punishing me. I would always get punished for like fighting back. If I fought back at the time, I was just like crying, like, ow, my knees hurt, like stop dropping me. But I wasn't aware of like the situation itself. And then like growing up, I'm like, oh, he was just like blackout drunk and being stubborn. When I was in high school, I think I was really like checked into what was going on. Because I used to go to my guidance counselor in high school a lot and like talk about things. And she always would say like, you're super aware, like your emotional maturity is like a little advanced. And I think that it's because like I had to check into these events. And there was like one thing that happened that was like a turning point, I think. It was my dad had like come home and crashed his car on the way home. We were all asleep, me, my mom, my sister, and it was like 3 a.m. He's like comes in screaming, banging on doors. Like I hear him and my mom fighting. And then I heard like cops like coming to the house. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, not in those words because I was like 12. And snuck to my door and I hear him fighting with my mom and I hear him like telling her like she has to take the fall. she has to take the blame, like all these weird things. And I didn't understand why. And then I hear my sister come out of her room, and my sister is 8 years older than me because like we have different dads.
Okay.
So she's like older, and they're fighting. And then I hear my mom like, get your hands off of her. I didn't know what was going on. I was just hiding the whole time. And then me, my mom, and my sister had to like lock ourselves in my sister's room and like hide under the bed all night. There was just cops at my house shining flashlights in the window. There were sirens going off for hours because I guess he crashed his car and kind of abandoned it. If you see that, you obviously can't just like do that.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't go to the door. So I think that event in particular, that's one I never forgot.
Okay.
I think that one like made me realize like, wait, this isn't normal. This isn't something every family goes through. Like this is fucked.
So, going through that, and even that specific event, did people in your life realize this was going on? Like, was this kind of something that was just secluded to your family? Were they the only ones who saw it? Or did this, get out to your friends, your relatives? Like how was this taken by other people?
One friend growing up that our families were really close, and like me and her were like best friends. I think they kind of always knew what was going on. If I needed to like get out of the house, like I would always go over there. Her parents, I would always like be super like open with them. I remember my mom, like one day I came home and my mom sat down with me. So-and-so's mom, like she told me that you went over there today and like you told her that you hate your dad. And I was like, yeah, because like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to like have that conversation. 11, 12-year-old child was like going to her friend's house and being like, I hate my dad. They obviously were so close and they were such a good family. So like the mom and my mom had like really open communications. Like it was like a total safe space. But other than that, I think sometimes like my friends would come over and like it was super embarrassing because like if my dad came home drunk, he just was who he was. Like there was no hiding it or respect. So he would kind of act out in front of other people. And, I'm sure they told their parents. So I like would try to stop having people over, sleepovers and stuff. I don't know. I didn't really like go out of my way to tell anyone. Even now with my own mental health, I feel like the only time I've ever opened up about anything, honestly, is if I've been like drunk. Because, drunk words, sober thoughts kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if there's something going on, like I really try to keep it in. But if, I'm out and I'm drinking, there's a trigger that goes off and it gets me into my feels, then I'll probably word vomit.
My dad, as he was growing up, he went through something similar, right? So his dad was always at the bar, and my dad, ever since, we were little, he would always, there was this one story he would tell us where he'd be on the corner waiting for his dad to come home at 3 a.m. at 12 years old, and he wouldn't. That breaks my heart. It's so hard for a kid to even understand that, right? So now you're 12 years old, you probably didn't understand why your dad was doing what he was doing. It's like, how do I even, is it me? Like, did you ever think it was your fault? Like, did you ever, or it wasn't, something like that?
I think when I was younger, like when I was little, I didn't think it was my fault, but I did think I was super unlucky. I would see some of my friends had like that daddy's girl kind of relationship with their parents or their fathers. And I was like, wait, what? I thought that was like something only in TV and movies. I didn't know people had that. Damn, like what the hell? Like, why did this have to happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? And then I think like the lack of feeling of love, I don't know when. And I think maybe it went from like a lack of fatherly love to lack of boyfriend love to lack of self-love. Like it kind of transcended down from that. When I was little, I wasn't like, oh, he treats us like this because of me. I don't know what I did to deserve this. I'm really, really unlucky. I was in more years where I could acknowledge what was happening, which I guess was more so with like boyfriends. Because then my dad left, like he moved out when I was like 14.
Okay.
So then I start getting into serious relationships and all these things. And, once guys start cheating on you or telling you that you're not lovable and like things like that. Okay, wait, no. Now it's my fault. And that's when my mental health like really like took a turn. I don't know like if this is too much, but like when I was like little, the only thing that would happen with my dad where I was taking it out on myself, I had a really bad span of years where I would like cut myself. Probably from like 12 to like 14, 15 when he moved out. I don't know if that's too much. But.
No, not at all. That's important stuff, and it's real, right? Like,
yeah.
These are things that people go through, and it's not something that should, be hidden. That's how you felt at that age. You didn't know how else to, get out your feelings, right? And it's like, obviously that's not the answer. And, you
Right.
know, it's nice now that we can look back and say, I shouldn't have done that. But it's so hard in that moment. You know, sometimes people don't know what to do. And it's like sometimes you don't have these outlets or these resources. And it's like, it's tough stuff, right? It's not easy things to deal with. And people don't realize that, you know, and it's like for you to be able to even say that and, you know, come on here and share that, that's exactly what we're trying to do, you know, is bring that stuff to light because it is important. You can help somebody, the next person who's listening to this and thinking about doing the same thing and realizing, no, that's not good. You know, that's not going to help you.
Yeah, no, truly it will do absolutely nothing. I mean, the reason doing like something comes about, I think, is it's like an overwhelming rush of emotions and anger and frustration. And, you know, maybe I'm the type of person where right now it's great because I'm behind a microphone and you're a very comfortable person to speak to. And this is a safe space. So like maybe it feels easier to open up. But like when you're that young and you don't know any better, you just don't even know how to handle these emotions and thoughts. And like what's going on around you is so much bigger than what you can control. An outpour of, I don't even know, like you don't even know what to do. So then you do something impulsive and it's totally not going to fix anything. And it, in fact, makes everything worse because now you have to hide things. You have to explain yourself. You have to try to be like, fuck, what is wrong with me? And I think that was a moment where the way that I would act when I would do something like that moment of outburst, which was unproductive, the productive thing that I would do with those outbursts was when I started going to therapy. Because I started doing that when I was pretty young. My mom, like, she put me right in.
Good.
This is going to be good for you. It wasn't like a, you have to do this.
Yeah,
it was like a, this is a productive thing. This is a safe thing. And so then those emotions that I didn't know how to get out or what to do with, I knew how to handle them.
Yes. Okay.
And, you know,
Yeah. And, you know, I went into therapy around the same time. I was, I believe, 13. And it was that same thing. It wasn't where, you know, I was being forced to go into it. You know, it was something where we thought it was necessary and it was, you know, and it wound up helping me more than anything else would have or could have.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm so fortunate for that. And, you know, I don't go to therapy anymore, but, you know, I went all the way up until last year or 2 years ago, and I feel I'm in a much better position than I was, you know. And look, I think everybody needs therapy. You know, I don't think it could hurt at all. I could definitely benefit from it now still. You know, it's
like kind of fun. It's like a productive vent sesh.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think it's like it's something that should be so normalized. And I know sometimes it's the resource itself, actually being able to obtain it. It should be much easier and it's not. And that's a whole nother problem in and of itself. But I think that sometimes you look at someone at face value and you think like, oh my God, like you've got your shit together, like you like whatever, and you have no idea what's going on.
Yep.
Like you've no freaking clue. And that's again, like this is the first time I'm like having an open, honest, like full frontal conversation about all of this. And I'm happy to, but like no one would know that. So many different like struggles that I've been through. Therapy is a safe space to handle it, and there's no shame. Everyone should do it.
Yes.
Like you said, I believe everyone needs therapy.
Totally. It's so important too, you know, and I feel like there's also this stigma behind actually going to therapy also. I've had people look at me differently because I went to therapy, and I'm like, really? Like,
that's
you know,
crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm trying to better myself, you know, help myself. People are always going to judge you no matter what you do. So you have to stop caring and thinking that their thoughts matter. You know, that's kind of what I've done to understand that. You've also mentioned struggle with your body image. So I'm guessing this is kind of around the same time.
Yeah. I would say so.
Okay. So, you know, before we get into that, when you were self-harming at, you know, this age from 12 to 15, did anybody know? Was this something you told people, or, you know, was this something you kind of did alone?
I did it alone, and then what kind of had happened was a friend of mine saw it, and she was like, I think she was 2 years older than me. A friend of mine saw it, and like I was very much like, it's really not a big deal. Like it's not that deep. Like it's okay. Like it's not whatever. But she told my mom. And so then my mom, like it was this whole thing talking about it. I know it sounds crazy for me to be like, no, it's not a big deal. It's not that deep. No, of course it is. But I don't like to do that with myself. I don't like it to be like whatever's going on with me is like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Everybody has to know, guys, we got to fix this. No.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. So that was kind of, I guess, the extent of like people finding out in a way.
And kind of take me through that too. You know, like what was your feeling, you know, like why did you feel that was necessary, or was it kind of just like you said, just like this bundle of emotions and you didn't know how to deal with them?
Now people are finally, I feel like, growing. People are normalizing therapy more. Mental health is like an okay thing to talk about. You can be a normal person and go through things and have support. And I think when I was in like middle school, I don't know, I felt like it wasn't normal to just be like, oh, this makes me really anxious, or oh, sometimes I feel really depressed and I don't want to leave my bed. Like those were weird things in a way. I feel like it was that seclusion and then what I kind of do to myself by nature. Like I don't prioritize like handling my own feelings or my own problems the right way. And I don't want other people to feel burdened with them, that I would get in these moments. And I don't know if it was more of like a thing, because also you have to remember I grew up in like the Tumblr age.
Okay. Yeah.
And Tumblr is a lot more regulated now, but that shit used to be wild.
Okay. Yeah, I never been on Tumblr.
Oh my God. Boy, oh boy. Tumblr, like, I mean, I love Tumblr still for so many things, like aesthetic, memes, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Like, whatever. Kind of like a more interpersonal Pinterest board.
Okay.
But Tumblr had this time where it almost was a center for negative mental health, self-harm, suicidal thoughts, eating disorders. It almost romanticized them on the internet.
Okay.
It almost gave them a vibe, more or less.
Yeah.
And, you know, experiencing that, I think it was kind of like, oh, well, this is something I could do with my emotions. I could do this. And also, I don't know if you grew up in a time where like Formspring and Ask FM were a thing.
No.
Do you know what they are?
I know what Ask FM
okay.
is now. I don't know what the other thing is.
So Formspring and Ask FM are kind of the same, but Formspring, it was like you had a profile, and the literal point of it was for people to go on your profile, anonymously write something with no accountability, literally as fucking mean as possible, whether it was honest or not, just to make you feel bad.
Really?
I literally swear to God. Like one time, I remember I woke up and I had one on my Formspring and it was like, I wish you would get hit by a bus. Like, I swear to God. And that was light. Like, the people that I knew were getting way worse, way worse. Like, a lot of my friends doing theater growing up, a lot of people, mainly guys, were getting like, you're gay, you're a insert F slur here. Like, it was crazy.
Really?
Yes, it was literally buck wild. And I think about it now. Did you ever have Yik Yak too?
Yeah. So Yik Yak was more like when I was in like 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah. And Yik Yak, I feel like, was like the more playful version.
Okay.
And that was still problematic.
That's so funny. Wow.
It's crazy. It's literally nuts. Like, but that was a lot of my young internet experiences. So I don't know. I think it was almost glorified.
Yeah.
And so I'd have these dark thoughts and I got these ideas. I'm not blaming it all on the internet too. Like, I'm obviously fucked up in my own way, but
we all are.
Yeah, right? Like, whatever. But it was definitely glorified. Okay. For sure.
Yeah. See, so when I was in middle school, I think, because that's when I went through like my spout, you know, I had a really 8th grade. And it's so funny too. Like, I tell people that and they look at me and they're like, no way. Like, I had a lot of friends, you know, I didn't, you know, I was outgoing, you know, but what was going on behind closed doors, nobody knew.
It's always the loudest person in the room who's like the loneliest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting, you know, because people are like, no, there's no way, you know, even like teachers, whatever it is, they're like, no way, not you. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly my point. You know, it's like, but I feel the same way. When I was in middle school, I think there were very few resources, and now I think there's definitely a lot more, and I think it's a lot more accepted and normalized and talked about. When I got to high school, you know, I went to a Catholic high school, so it was very taboo. Like, they didn't talk about it at all. You know, we had one of my friends, she committed suicide in my senior year, and they announced it on the loudspeaker, and then, like, that was it. We were all, like, livid. We were like, you're joking, right? Like, they just wanted to, like, sweep it under the rug and, like, act like it didn't happen.
God.
Terrible.
That's literally
Terrible.
horrifying.
Yeah, and we were like, are you serious? Like, our senior year, right? Like, so we've all known this girl. Everybody knew her. Everybody loved her. And it's like, are you kidding me? You know, and still to this day, like, I know there's other schools, other Catholic schools where people have committed suicide, and they just started barely doing stuff now, like, for mental health, which is it's terrible.
That's crazy. I feel like that's because now we're in a much more accountable era of life. But I mean, I went to a public high school, but I had a lot of friends that, like, would go to St. John's or St. Anthony's. I've heard their, I guess, experiences, like, with it. And, you know, especially a lot of my friends, again, doing theater, a lot of friends who are gay. And they go to St. Anthony's. They can't be gay at school.
Yeah, no.
They got to hide it.
Yep.
Like, that for the next 4 years of your life, freshman to freaking senior year, like, in the closet.
Yeah.
Nuts.
You can't do it's wild.
And I think sometimes, though, like, being on, like, Long Island itself is a pretty religious based, like, sector of New York. And I think, like, sometimes that association with, like, especially, like, it's really Catholic heavy on Long Island. And I think that there is a crazy association for some reason with, like, old school Catholicism and Christianity. And for some reason, not showing your emotions, and then, like, all these other really problematic things that obviously you were a direct victim of, literally going to a private school.
Yeah.
But it's just nuts.
It is. It's nuts. And it's like, it needs to be talked about more, you know, and I hope it makes a change, and it's hard. So, you know, sorry to get a little bit off topic, but recently I've partnered with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Amazing.
So they're a huge organization. And, you know, I met with the one who runs the sector of Long Island, and she's like, it's impossible for us to even get into these schools, which is, like, terrible. So
That's
it's like,
horrible.
yeah, you know, it's so sad because obviously all they're trying to do is help. It's not like it would cost any money. It's a not-for-profit. So it's like, but still, you know, they don't want to make a change. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a change goal.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing the work. So good for you.
Thank you. So now I want to get into kind of your body image and, you know, how this has affected your life and, you know, really where we are, you know, now.
Mm-hmm. When I, again, around, like, probably, like, 14, 15, like, I'm starting to date, I'm starting to, like, you're entering high school, like, all of these things. I always had an issue with my body. Like, I remember even when I was a little kid, I don't know why. I really don't know. I think it came from, this is literally going to sound nuts, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you remember that. But when I was in 3rd grade, I remember I was wearing green Aeropostale sweatpants, and this girl told me that my thighs looked fat in them and I shouldn't wear sweatpants like that. And I can't really describe the sweatpants as anything other than, like, chunky waistband, straight legs, super baggy, unflattering, would probably be worn with a pair of Osiris's.
Okay, yeah. I had a pair of those.
Yeah,
back
we
in
all
the day.
did. Like, Hollister sold them,
Yeah.
Abercrombie. And to this day, I've never bought a pair of straight leg sweatpants like that.
Really?
Legitimately. I'm not kidding. Like, I will see them and I will shudder. I either have to wear, like, a yoga pant, like I'm wearing right now, or a jogger. And I think that was the first time, because that happened. And I remember, you know, when you're a kid, like, I don't know, a lot of kids are just, like, little. Like, we're all kind of, like, scrawny.
Yeah.
Most of the, like, I don't know, like, you have your baby fat, you grow out of it, all this stuff. Like, I was like, I look at pictures, I was like a scrawny little kid. And a lot of my friends were too. But I would literally, like, go to bed at night. And at the time I was in, like, religion class, and I would pray. I would do my little, like, prayer homework, and I would pray, and I would be like, I pray that I wake up skinny.
Really?
As, like, a legit elementary school kid.
Yeah.
And so then I guess that was kind of already there. And then once I had a reason to feel like I wasn't lovable, unfortunately, to, like, a guy's perspective, I was like, it must be because I am unattractive. And, you know, I I don't look good. Like, it's my body, it's me. And I, again, through Tumblr, kind of like learned what anorexia was. And I was like, oh, so if I just don't eat a lot, I will lose weight and I will look good. I do so many things throughout the day. I don't have to eat. Like, I can just manage it. So I would wake up in the morning and, like, you know what is it? There's like 7 food groups or something in the food pyramid. 6?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, something like that.
Whatever they were, I would take like one thing from each food group. So like grains, a cracker, meat, a pepperoni round, dairy, a piece of cheese. I don't know, whatever the rest of the pyramids are. And I would eat one small thing from each food group pyramid.
Interesting.
And I would eat that in the morning. And then I wouldn't eat all day. And then I would end my night with like seaweed crackers. Like, do you know what they're like, the little sheets?
Yeah. Yep.
You get them at like an H Mart. They're honestly amazing. Yeah. And I highly recommend them with hummus. But
Interesting.
I would literally eat just that. And then if I felt like I needed to like if I was going through the week and I felt like I was like losing energy in like a way where I couldn't like function, I would make myself like half a cup of pasta one night. But like that was it. And that was like all I would eat, like literally the same thing every day for probably like a year.
Wow.
And I definitely like lost some weight from it. Not, and like looking at myself when I was younger, like I didn't like have anything to even really like lose, but whatever. So I lost weight and I think I got to a point where I was like, oh, okay, like I'm comfortable with myself now. And then people were starting to pick up on cues of like, hey. So I was like, no, I don't want people knowing. I don't want people worrying about me. I got to shut this shit down. So I started eating in public again and like whatever, kind of overcome it, grow past it. And then I was pretty good like without it. And then when I was like 18, 19, like that year, one of my like long-term relationships, I was cheated on, which is whatever. But the girl that he cheated on me with was just one of those people that's built like a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it doesn't matter either way. Like, but like cheating sucks regardless. But because of the way she looked, that trigger went off again. That I had not thought about as aggressively in years. And I was like, oh my God, it's because I don't look like her. And then I was like, okay, well, anorexia was really hard. That was kind of obvious. People were like noticing. So what can I do that people aren't going to worry about me? And then I was like, oh, bulimia, because I can eat in front of everyone and everyone's going to see me eating. No one's going to even think twice. And then I'll just, purge. So I did that for a while. That one lasted probably like 2 years. And I lost a lot of weight from it. And two things happened. One, it started to affect my voice, like my singing voice, because, all that acid is like not good for your esophagus. Yeah. And then 2, my boyfriend now, because like I was super honest about it when I started dating him. I was like, I just want to tell you this because like this is a thing that I have going on. I don't know what my journey is with it, but I don't want to blindside you. And like, if this isn't something that you're comfortable with dating me, like I want you to know before like we go any further with this. And he was like, no, I would never like judge you or not date you because you have an eating disorder. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like then as our relationship developed, like I think it just started to affect him more. The more he cared about me, he like couldn't accept it for what it was. So it became like him putting a lot of like heat on me. Like, you've got to stop. Like this, I can't just sit here and be like, yep. Like I'm not saying I don't love you for it.
Yeah.
But I can't, because I love you, just blindly like let this happen. So through that process and just like a lot of troubles and me being like, okay, well, I don't want to lose him, it kind of snapped me out of it. I wish that I was able to just like do it for myself because I had a more productive mindset, but I would be lying if I said that I stopped because I felt better about myself. No. If he hadn't more or less like put the pressure on me to help me, I wouldn't have stopped. And that's just the honest truth.
Yeah. It's good on his part too, you know, and
Yeah.
it at least it is better. You know, that's obviously most important. Were you going to therapy during this or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And that is one thing I've never told a therapist about, which I know you're supposed to be honest with your therapist. And I'm honest about everything else, like literally everything else. But I have the truth, if I'm being completely candid, I've never told a therapist about an eating disorder because A, I have always kind of felt like I overcame it in my own way. And I want to be very in control of my feelings. And B, like, I just, I don't know. I think it comes from me not wanting something that's going on with me to be this huge thing. And I don't want it to be like, no, Sydnee, like this is something that you really have to address and talk about. Like, you know, X, Y, and Z. I never wanted it to become something where I had to go get treatment or, which I'm not against. Like, it's crazy because these ways I feel about myself and I talk about myself, it's like I see someone else and I would think they were nuts if they thought badly about themselves. And like, I would push anyone to take any treatment they needed. Like I'd pay the entrance fee for someone to get eating disorder treatment because it's so important to me. But if a therapist told me like I needed to seek treatment, I'd be like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
It's I know it's crazy. It's
not
wild.
crazy. I think, you know, I personally, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think something that's so close to you, right? It's scary. It's hard. You know, and I'm just going to be honest too. Like, it's hard to share things that are so close to you. Like, I'm guilty of it too. There's times where, like, I want to say something or I want to share a feeling and I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't. So it's like when, you know, this thing, like you said, you were able to overcome it by yourself or with your boyfriend. And it's something so hard to talk about, which that's why I'm glad you're talking about it right now, you know, because maybe, hey, next time you do go to therapy, it'll make it easier to talk about, right? It'll make you have that conversation. But sometimes also speaking it into existence makes it feel real. And that's sometimes scary. You know, when you don't say it out loud or say it to a therapist, you're like, you know what, I got it under control. Not, you know, nobody really knows about it. You know, it's kind of personal. It's just me and my boyfriend who really know about it. And then when you say it to another person or another person, then it becomes real. It happened. And that's sometimes hard to get over. You know, it's like, was that really me? You know, and you start asking yourself these questions because I've been there, you know, and I'm like, really? Like, but it makes it real and you kind of hold yourself accountable and you look at, you know, hey, look, I've made this much progress, right? So it's like, this shouldn't be something I'm looking down on or not wanting to talk about. Like, I'm past this, right? Like, I've overcome this, you know, so to kind of just look at it a little differently and, you know, at least that's what I try and do. I try and say it out loud and understand it and, you know, not deny it or not, you know, separate it from myself because it's what makes you you. You know, it's part of your story and it's part of your journey that's, you know, brought you to where you are today.
Yeah. And also, like, I want to make it super clear because, like, there could be other people that listen to this and, like, have had experiences with eating disorders or struggle with body dysmorphia or body image. And, like, I want to make sure, like, it doesn't sound like I'm saying, like, this is an easy thing to do.
Not at all,
because, like, let me make it, like, super clear, like, no matter how much, you know, weight you might lose over a span of a couple months or a year or whatever, yeah, you might like shed a few pounds, but you also are going to lose loved ones. You are going to lose hair. Some people literally lose teeth. Like, you are going to lose iron. Another thing that happened where, like, people were starting to get really aware of me was I had bruises, like, all over my legs because you don't, like, I was depleted of so much iron that, like, you literally, like, and I bruise easily as it is, but, like, you nudge, like, a couch and it's, like, black and blue.
Yeah.
So, like, and then everything in your life, like, gets super complicated. Instead of finding the healthy regimen to live your life and, you know, feel comfortable in your own skin for whatever that may be for you, just be extremely aware that an eating disorder will never, ever, ever solve your problems. And more so than anything else, it is not sustainable.
Definitely not.
Even if it solves your problems for a year and a half, it will not solve whatever problem is going on with your view of yourself for the rest of your life. The only thing that will is therapy and productive coping mechanisms. And also, like, if you want a healthy lifestyle, an actual healthy lifestyle, like things that are sustainable. You know, I don't know enough about it, but whatever your protein intake should be and your daily, like, I don't know, getting moving, like take a hot girl walk. I don't know, but like bulimia, anorexia, like restrictive eating, like those are never, ever going to be actual solutions, ever.
Yeah, definitely not. And, you know, I kind of want to ask you a few questions about it also. So generally, eating disorders happen to be like a perfect storm of events, right? So it's not something that just happens one day, right? So it's something over time that your body will eventually, I guess, kind of get into, right? So it's not just one day you have it and one day you don't.
Right.
You know, so like, do you think all the things leading up from your childhood, from your father, right, to then, you know, the self-harm, and then do you think, I don't know if you have any anxiety or anything like that, but I know anxiety also has a lot to do with eating disorders. You know, it's kind of the only thing you can control in your life, right? Where, you know, people who can't control things, it's a big anxiety thing, right? You have no control over your situation. So now I'm going to go control what foods I'm eating, how much I'm eating, or how little I'm eating, or if I'm going to purge, right? So it's like, do you think you kind of had this perfect storm, you know, or even like you said, that story, right, where you were in third grade and that stuck with you? Like, did all of that kind of just pile into it, and that's how you kind of let your anxieties out, or, you know?
I would say, like, absolutely.
Okay.
I think I'm similarly to how you said you were like, oh, like I had a lot of friends in high school, super social, like no one would have ever thought I struggled. Like I perform, like I have a podcast.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friend groups, and like, you know, I work in a restaurant. Like I talk to people all day long. So like, yeah, I have good social skills, but I am like a very, very anxious person. And I think when you take that anxiety of, my anxieties really usually stem from if people like me, and if my friends actually like me, if my boyfriend actually likes me, like pretty much everyone but my mom. But like, if like people genuinely mean the things they say, like I'm always afraid people actually don't enjoy me at all. I'm just really nice. And so I think that self-hate and anxiety, the only thing, like you said, that I could control was potentially my body. And I was so anxious about the way I looked and how it made other people think of me, and if it was going to make people cheat on me again. And like, it was like the only thing I could regulate. And again, it's so crazy because like if someone said to me like, oh, I don't think my boyfriend like loves me, or I think he's going to cheat on me because like I feel like I don't look good, I would be like, you're nuts. And if he does that, he would have done it no matter what. It has nothing to do with what you look like, and he's garbage.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to me, I just like, I can't wrap my head around it, and I never want to talk about it. Like I have friends that when they're feeling down or upset or anxious, like they need to talk to someone, they need to call someone, they need to see someone, they need to do something. I want to put my phone on do not disturb. I want to drive somewhere and literally have no one know where I am, and I want to be alone. I want to just like sit there and like doom scroll on TikTok or something. Like I think that my body is, no matter what, the thing that's going to always upset me the most. I don't like, I think about it, and I do not think there's ever going to be a day where I look in the mirror and I like what I see. And it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect, my body is like the perfect pinpoint of things that I can look at and be like, I hate you and I need to fix you. And you are the reason things go wrong for me. And I know how it sounds. Like, I know it sounds really dark, but unfortunately, it's the truth. Like I said before, sometimes the loudest person in the room is the loneliest. And sometimes the person who might seem like they're, I guess, confident or, you know, socially doing cool, like they're good, is literally crying when they look in the mirror every day.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I love fashion. Like I love, no matter what my outfit is, super casual, super dressy. I love a perfect outfit, and it is so hard for me to get dressed.
So I know you also said that you had a really restrictive summer, one summer.
Mm-hmm.
Did that get triggered by something in particular? Was this, kind of random? What was that caused by?
After me and my boyfriend started dating and I stopped like the bulimia relationship weight that people talk about, like, you get happy, we live on Long Island, everything's diners and fast food and 7-Eleven. Like everywhere you go.
Yes.
Applebee's like half apps. Like
Exactly.
So like it was a lot of that. All day, every day, back to back, bagels, pizza, like whatever. And on top of that, not necessarily exercising or anything at the time. Like we were just like living life, like enjoying it, eating all the time, like, and not focusing on the healthy things we should put in our body. It was like bagels for breakfast, mac and cheese for lunch, like tacos for dinner, 7-Eleven for fourth dinner. Like,
Yep.
Like it was just like, it was genuinely bad. Like there's no denying that we were literally just putting garbage into our bodies for months. And I started from a point where I was so small because of my eating disorder that I guess I just kind of didn't think there were going to be any repercussions. And out of nowhere, like I feel like one day I looked and I had probably gained like nearly 40 pounds. And I had weighed more than I ever weighed in my life, like sans eating disorder, just like my natural body weight.
Okay.
Like I didn't recognize myself. And it's not that there's anything wrong with any specific number. It's just that I was like, whoa, I'm really not healthy. Like I went to the doctor, I wasn't eating good. Like I literally was like, I need to do something about this. Like actually productively for once in my life, I need to take control of my body and my health. I have history of heart disease in my family. Like I can't be freaking eating like shit all day, every day. It's just not good for you. So that was like when this all happened, that was like right before COVID. And, a lot of people had experiences during COVID where I feel like gained weight because we were just sitting home and we were just eating and chilling. I kind of took it the opposite way. Like I was like, all right, I'm home and I'm cooking. So let me try to be more aware of what I'm putting in my body. And I started to like really get better at it. And that was over the course of like lockdown and a little bit after. I was like way more careful about what I was eating when I was eating it. And it was having a positive effect in a healthy way. And then things started to open up and it was the summertime. And I was like, I've always hated the summer because I hate wearing shorts. I hate wearing bathing suits. And I love the comfort of being able to put on, like a big sweater with my leggings and not have anyone know what the hell is underneath. And I started to panic, I think. Like I was like, oh God, I still don't feel comfortable with how I look. And no one's seen each other in so long. And now people are going to look at me and be like, oy. And I was like, I gotta expedite this overnight shipping. Yeah. And I figured out what foods that I enjoyed that didn't like, I guess, really affect me. Like I love egg whites. I love like the egg white bites from Starbucks. Like those are my crack. I could literally eat those 6 times a day.
Really?
Yes. And for a long period of time, that is all I would eat in a day. I would literally spending so much money a day at Starbucks, like actually ridiculous. But let's say you need like 3 meals a day. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have a salad for dinner. I know this. I'm going to drink coffee for breakfast. I'm going to have a Diet Coke like all day long. And, for lunch and then that second feeling of hunger both times, like I'll just go to Starbucks and get the egg white bites. And like, I'm not going to pretend like eating a salad is a bad thing to do. Like if you have a good salad that you love, that's great. That's a wonderful thing to do. And eating the egg white bites, that's a wonderful thing to do. Enjoying coffee is great. Enjoying Diet Coke is like part of my personality.
Yeah.
Like those aren't bad things.
Yeah, definitely
It was the formula in which I was doing it was a bad thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I started to look the way I wanted to look. And I also started going to the gym though. And I think that that's important because I was enjoying exercising.
Okay.
And a lot of people started to kind of like point fingers again. And I was like, no, but you know what? I'm doing good things for myself too. And I don't want that to be looked at as worrisome because like, I didn't think that was fair. But I don't know. I guess people were worried and like it was becoming a thing and I really didn't want it to become a thing. So then I had to figure out how to do it in other ways. And I don't know. I think like it was just a bad formula. Like I almost got it right, like how to eat healthy and how to do the right thing, but I was doing it in a really bad order.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And now, when you were going through that, right, did you realize like you were kind of falling back into your old habits, or was it, something you didn't even realize, and at first you thought it was good, right? You thought you were doing something good for yourself, and then it kind of turned into that.
I would say it was that. Like at first I was like, oh my God, like I got it right. I still hated myself though. So, which, whatever, like that's a natural thing for me at this point. But I was like, okay, I think I got it. Like I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. Like I'm enjoying healthier foods. Like I expanded my palate in ways that I really never had before. Like I used to be like, I hate spinach, like, vegetables. But like now I was finding ways to like them.
Okay.
And I was learning how to cook eggs in a different way. Cause like I also don't eat meat. So I get my protein from eggs a lot of the time, or like I eat shellfish, so I'll do a lot of shrimp.
Okay.
And I was finding different ways to enjoy these things. Brussels sprouts, food I never liked before. And I was like, cool. Like I can sustainably eat healthy.
Yeah.
Like this is great. And then I think it got to a point where there would be like a day would go by, and I'm also very busy. Like I'm not gonna discount that because it's definitely a factor. Like especially over the summer, like the restaurant I work at is so busy and I work so many days a week, and then I go to rehearsal at night, and then on the shows I have weekends. So I'm constantly going that sometimes I'm not thinking about like what time I'm eating what. Like I'm just eating when I have the free time and I'm hungry. But so there would be days where like I'd go through the whole day and like I had maybe like half an English muffin at work like in the morning, and that was all I ate all day.
Okay.
And like then I'd be like, wait, I think this could be problematic.
Yeah.
But then I would kind of talk myself out of it and be like, okay, no, but like you're fine. Like you feel fine. I don't feel like I'm going to faint. Like I think I've got it under control. But I was trying to not like romanticize it and just kind of push it away, I guess. And then people would ask me questions and I would get really frustrated about it. Cause again, I was like, no, I'm finally doing the right thing. Like,
Yeah.
And no one believes me.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucked too. Like no one believed me. And like I had people like being like, oh my gosh. Cause like some people would say one thing and then other people would come up to me who I guess like didn't know me super well. And they'd be like, you look amazing. You look so good. And that's one of the most toxic things you can do to a person.
Yep.
Do not do like, unless you see someone is posting like a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Publicly. They're like, this is my journey and I'm changing my this and I'm doing my this, and they really want to showcase it. Okay. Otherwise, if you notice a change in someone's body, no matter what it is, you might not realize it. You might think like, no, they clearly, they look stronger. I'm complimenting them. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
Because the motivation and what went on behind that, it doesn't even matter if it was that year. It could have been 10 years ago that they struggled. Just don't say it.
Yeah.
Because people, like there were, especially adults, because sometimes I think that they're just like boomers.
Yeah.
And they don't get
yes,
it.
I agree.
Like they would say to me, oh my God, like you look so much better.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, A, I know, like that's what I'm dealing with inside. But B, you're confirming to me that I had a problem the way I looked before. I looked bad.
Yes.
And I can never touch that again. Like I can never tiptoe that way because you just confirmed I didn't look good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll never forget it.
Yeah, and that's something that it sticks with you, right? It's like those things just like from your childhood. It sticks with you, and it's not something you can just get rid of, right? Mm-hmm. And especially if those are the things you're fixating on, it's hard to think about something else, right? Exactly. If somebody's pointing it out, people are going to take it like that, right? Okay, so what was wrong with me then? Mm-hmm. If I look, oh, you look so much better now. Okay, so what? I looked like shit then? Like, is that what you so it's like...
It's confirming these dark thoughts.
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
It might be different... Because, I mean, even people who don't have eating disorders or history with body dysmorphia or any type of, like, issue like that, they might still feel insecure at times. Like, that's pretty human, I would say.
Definitely.
And, yeah, like, so, yes, there's other people that might have struggled with a fit of, oh, this year I felt kind of bad about myself. That's one thing. But people whose brain chemistry works in a certain way where they're like, no, I literally don't deserve to go out in public if I don't throw up at least 3 times before I leave the house because I won't look good enough, then that's different.
Yeah.
That's a different brain. And unfortunately, that's like the way I've lived my life. And like I've had people where, you know, and it's crazy too, because I don't know what the fuck was wrong with our generation growing up and the things we said, but I can look at pictures of myself and like I know at the time, like I was anorexic, like I was in high school and I was really tiny, but there were like people that maybe they were insecure and, you know, whatever, like they had their own battles they fought. So they took those insecurities and turned it into like putting people down who were easy to put down because they wouldn't fight back.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe they knew I had that insecurity. Like they would say to me like, oh, like if you're gonna go out in a crop top, like at least like lose some weight first.
Really?
Yeah. And I would never fight back because I wasn't A, strong enough, and B, I believed it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, yeah, damn, they're so right. If I had a rational thought process around that, I'd be like, the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
shut up.
Yeah.
But I didn't shut it up because those were also the voices in my head. Like,
Yes.
they were like, yeah, you should.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And it's crazy. And it's not like let's say if you were in a position where it was really affecting your health, where now, you know, you're at a higher risk for heart attack, whatever these things are, then yes, you should try and, you know, eat better, go get exercise.
Yeah.
Like, that's great.
Regulate
you know?
yourself.
Yes, exactly. But then when it's kind of like almost like you're doing something terrible for dressing a certain way, you know, and it's like where you're not even unhealthy and it's crazy.
Nuts.
It's crazy.
It's so nuts because like there's so many people, like someone could be the tiniest person in the world, but internally they're so unhealthy. They just maybe have a really fast metabolism.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
your body weight has legit nothing to do with your
Yes.
health, like all the time.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
It's not 100% accuracy rate.
Yeah, no, it's not. Is there anything else you would like to touch on before we close out?
I think I pretty much opened my cabinet of mess.
Hey, I really, really appreciate it, and I think everybody else is going to appreciate this as well. You seriously did an amazing job.
Thanks.
And I have one more question for you. I'm going to give you the question, but then part 2, you're going to answer on your podcast.
Oh my God.
So everybody, you know, you guys can tune into that podcast to hear the answer to her question, and I think it's a question we all, you know, should be asked one time or another in our life. What would you say to your child self, you know, from all the stuff that you have gone through and, you know, your entire journey? And we will pick it up on Sydnee's podcast. So thank you guys so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on and being so vulnerable. It's not easy what you did. You're an amazing speaker. You have a lot to be proud of, and I think everybody is going to see that at home.
Oh my God, thank you.
Thank you.
Stream Rambling Pod.
Definitely. Check
You won't
everything
find
out.
out.
Exactly. Thank you guys so much for listening, and don't forget to check out Dark Angel Company on Instagram at Dark Angel Co. and online at darkangelco.com. If you're interested in supporting and spreading awareness towards bringing light to a dark topic together, then tune in next time.